Maybe I try to go in another spot that would be better. Let's try.
Okay. Take your time.
Okay. Where are you right now?
Um, I'm actually I'm currently in Nebraska for a vaccine trial, and I'm taking it from there. So,
Nebraska, you said.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, so maybe you can see the ocean in my background. Could you? A little.
Yep.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's better. Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
So I guess you can start the interview. So let me get everything out. So once again, hello, Dr. Gaspar. It's been a long time. Thank you for being here and taking the
Pleasure.
and I appreciate you taking the time to join this call.
Thank you. It's
So,
my pleasure to join the meeting.
yep. So today we'll we're gonna ask a few questions about about your organization Te Mana o Te Moana, and also we'll deep dive into the marine veterinarian career path.
Okay.
Okay, so our first question today will be so what can you tell us a little bit about you and your organization, and especially the cool things that you do to help and protect marine animals?
Okay. So to go back to my background, I'm French. I've been living in France till I was 25 years. And then I decided to move to French Polynesia, which is still a French territory, but it's right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We are in the South Hemisphere, south from Hawaii. I went to school in France and I graduated as a vet. And when I finished doing my vet study, I decided to go into learning more business. So I did an MBA to better understand how a vet clinic would work with assistant, and sometimes, we sell items and everything. So I did all of that. I loved it, but then I figured out I have to work. So I started working first in Indian Ocean in another French territory called Reunion Island. And there I started being very motivated to learn more about marine life, and marine animals. I started to do 2 years, and then I had the opportunity to move to French Polynesia. So when I first arrived here, I figured out there was a lot of partial knowledge about marine life, but nothing was really well structured to help many local schools, and the public to better understand the marine environment. So I decided to create a non-profit foundation, and I called it Te Mana o Te Moana. In Tahitian, mana is the power of the spirit. It's very strong word. Spirit is very strong word. And then Moana is the ocean. And so we call it Te Mana o Te Moana, which means the spirit of the ocean. And I created this foundation in 2004. So it is 17 years ago. And we have three main focuses. One is research, second is conservation, and third is education. In research, we have focused mainly on some coral reef, but mainly on sea turtle. We do sea turtle nesting research on different islands, and we also try to help understand the migration of sea turtle. On conservation, I have opened in 2004 also a sea turtle clinic. So, because I'm a vet, I wanted to give my time to try and help 100 turtle, and finally we have so many. We have received over 600 sick turtle over the years, which is a big number. 600. I had no idea when I first started it. Maybe I was like 1 or 2 a year. And so the main action in conservation is that. And then education, it's a broad program, very large program. We do education on marine life. So we include dolphins and whales and coral reef and sea turtle, shark, rays, and more we talk about global warming and plastic pollution, of course.
Wow, that sounds really cool. So Hannah Peterson, are one of the Aeon for Ocean members, I think has the next question.
Okay.
Hannah, if you want to introduce yourself quick before you ask it.
Yeah, so I'm Hannah. I am the publishing manager with our organization. So I help put together our monthly newsletter.
Okay.
And so the question I have is, what can you tell us about your current career as a marine veterinarian?
Okay, so I started as a normal, I would say, traditional vet, taking care of cats and dogs in cities.
Okay.
And then I went to Reunion Island, where we started hearing some needs to help marine life, and mainly fish, and sharks and everything, but it was not well organized. And so when I came here in French Polynesia, it was interesting because there is a lot of traditional culture about marine life, a lot of traditional stories and everything, but not a lot was known on these animals. So I started, after my vet degree, I started looking at what I could do in addition. And I met some local researchers in a research center here. There is a French center. And they helped me decide to start doing a PhD. So I did a PhD. It took me 5 years, a longer time, because I was working at the same time. And I started working on stingrays. And I discovered so much information on stingrays that basically nobody knew, but people didn't ask questions. And why did I do that? Is because of on the island where I live, on Morea Island, people started doing activities for tourism, where they would go in the water in a very shallow area in the lagoon and start feeding the rays for tourism. And nobody wonder, is this good or not good for the animals, And so I wanted to study the impact of the feeding. So that was one of the goals. And then basically I was approached by the government to help them take care of sick marine animals and many sea turtle. Why? Because when you have a sick sea turtle, usually it's the first consequence is that it's floating. And so if it's at the surface, everybody can see it. There are two ways. Either somebody like us on a boat find the floating turtle, and it's like, what's happening? So you go close and close, and when you figure out the turtle is not moving anymore, what you do, you try to help it, and then you grab it and you bring it on the boat. And then you call and you try to see where to send it. But unfortunately, here in French Polynesia, in many places of the world, there are still poachers, people who are looking to kill turtle to eat them. And so if the turtle has no defense and is just floating, sometimes you just kill them and eat them, and we don't hear about them. So anyway, we have received so many turtle that were wounded by poachers, but maybe they were collected by the poachers because they were sick and they were floating. So why were they sick? And this is what we are trying to get. And the more we go, the more necropsy, unfortunately I do, the more we figure out there are plastics sometime in their stomach. So all is a cycle, And so we don't want only to focus on the poachers. I think we have to focus on everybody's action every day and what impact we have on marine life. So my work as a vet for Moana is mainly taking care of this turtle. And when we start fixing their first problem, they don't recover in 2 days. They really recover in months. So then we have this rehab center where they spend weeks and months, where we have to teach them how to start eating again and put some weight on and develop more energy. And this is taking a lot of time. And so for that, our foundation, Te Mana o Te Moana, has a team who is helping me, of course, to do that.
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Okay.
So the next question that we have, I think Eve Feldman, another one of the Aeon for Ocean staff members, will ask that question. And Eve, if you want to introduce yourself before you ask it.
Yes, absolutely. My name is Eve Feldman. I'm the illustration lead here at Aeon for Ocean. And we've heard a little bit about your education background in snippets, but can you please share a little bit more about your education? I heard you have a PhD, well, doctor, of course. We'd like to hear
that. I was born and raised in France, and I was, and I graduated, and then I went MBA.
I think you're breaking up a little, and we can't hear you very well.
Okay. Maybe I have to stop something. Yeah, is it better?
You're
No?
still breaking from my end.
Okay. Let's try. Okay. That's good. I can see you very well.
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay. So I start over. So my education background. So I was born and raised in France. I went to school in France. Then I did a vet school that brought me to the degree of veterinary surgeon when I was 23. 23, I was in Bordeaux in south of France. And then as I wanted to add in my education some background in business because I figure out managing a vet clinic, you need to know a lot about financial and also marketing and doing a business. So I did an MBA in Bordeaux as well. And then when I turned, so I was young, but then when I was like 40 years, I decided to go back to school and then I did a PhD. It took me 5 years and I studied the ecology of stingray in French Polynesia with the University of Tahiti.
Wow, that sounds like a long process, but really fun.
Yeah, a lot of people told me it's going to be very difficult for you. I mean, it's you go back to school basically when you are a little older, but it was a lot of fun, and also it's very interesting sometime in your career to change what you do and to do what you want to do. So I wanted to do it. It was a lot of work. I had to work days and nights to finish up this PhD, but I was very happy when I finished it. Really.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So the next question I'll ask is, what can kids do to prepare for a marine veterinarian career, starting from elementary school through college?
Okay, so what I would answer is what I know from the French system, because I'm sure it's different in the US and it's different in every countries. What you have to do is first of all, work hard, study a lot when you're at school. And also I would say, as soon as you have the time, go in the field, go with vets and look at their job and look at what they do. Go in the countryside, go to see wild animals and make sure you kind of decide what you want to do. And then for us in France, you have to study and pass a degree that is very hard to get. A lot of the young people try to do it and then they don't get it, so they never become a vet. So you have to make sure you don't discourage yourself and you talk to vets and you want to do it and you go all the way to do it. So now in France, it's 7 years of study. And so you become a vet not before like 27. But the more you develop a network of people that are in the field, the more you get really focused on what you want to do. And then you never give up, and it's hard, but you have to continue. Now, a lot of young people ask me, how do I become a vet for wildlife or for marine life? Okay, this also is depending on the country where you are. Like in France, you don't have a very clear way of becoming specialized. You could get some specialized in wildlife overall, but then the most important, which is in a sense what I did, is that you have to go to the field and work with a vet who is already in this field and learn with him. And then, sometimes you have to create your own chance. You have to be there at the right time when there's an opening.
Yep. So thank you. I think that's really helpful. And I think Hannah has the next question.
Yeah. So what are some other career options related to helping save marine animals besides being a vet?
Oh, this is a good question, because a lot of visitors, a lot of kids, a lot of young people that I see ask me that. And there is a lot of ways you could help wildlife without being a vet, of course. For example, in our foundation, we have many collaborators who have more of an educator degree, like a teacher degree, because everything we learn from being a vet and how we take care of animals is the most important is to, from the information we gather, to create awareness and to make sure this message are spread out. And so being an educator with this knowledge that you could get from the vet and be able to transfer it to young generation is very key. So be trained to be an educator is very important. And then also there is other ways to become a marine biologist. So you are not a vet, but you are a biologist. And then you could help in field study, and you could create your own, network, and you could create, this is what we do also. We have a lot of citizen science. You don't need to do a lot of study in science, but you need to understand why we ask the public to look at different parameters, different data, or take pictures, the way we do it, why, what do we collect from this data, and how do we use this data back to help conserve this species that is involved in our program. So I would say there's many, many ways to do it. And then the third one, which is a very important one, is communication. Now, when I started a long time ago, it was a long time ago, but now you need to be good in communicating, being able to speak to the public, being able to run Facebook, Instagram, take pictures, being able to write very short sentence for the public to understand, not write very long scientific report. This is one way. Then sometimes what we miss is somebody who has a very scientific background, who could read very complicated statistical study in one research, understand it, and then be able to rephrase it for kids, for example.
Yeah.
So this is very important. Communication is very important.
Well, thank you.
So I think Eve has the next question.
Yes, thank you. What is your favorite part of your job?
Oh, for sure, I do not hesitate, is being in the field. So not only I'm a vet, but I'm a marine biologist, and I do a lot of conservation program. So I would say one action for sure is when you receive a sick or dying sea turtle that is really, you fear there is no hope and it's going to die. You do everything to try to save it, and then down the road you save it, and then one day you bring it back to the ocean when it's fully recovered. Of course, this is the best way. I mean, you feel you are very active, but you figure out also that if you save one, it's great, but it's not enough. It's a lot of time for one animal, one individual, but there are so many others that are suffering and nobody can take care of them. So for a vet, this is it, for sure. It's a big success. But then I think when I feel more efficient is when we try to, always in sea turtle, but try to help the nesting turtle when they try to dig a nest in the sand and they don't protect the babies. What we do after the incubation time on this atoll, which is called Techera, is we go to this place, and because we have studied every single nest, and depending on the year, sometimes we have to monitor 700 nests, which is a huge number. We dig the nest and we look at all the empty shell. So we don't touch the natural process. All the turtles that do good, they are very small, they are 5 centimeters. They go out, they go to the ocean, and then, as you know, there are predation, but we are not always there. But when we go and we dig this nest and we find all empty shells, sometime in the middle of these shells, you have endangered turtle, weakness. Turtles are very weak, or they are deformed, or they are blocked by a piece of rock. And so it's like magic, because you walk on a beach, you don't see anything. Then you stop, you dig in one place, and you know why. And then you find live babies, and you save them just by being there and be able to, take them out from their situation where they were fully blocked. And then you watch them go again to the ocean. And so we have saved so many, 1,000 of them doing that. And so this is very, very rewarding. Now, sometimes you watch them go to the lagoon, and when they are a few meters from you, you can see predation by sharks or by octopus or by birds. And you figure out this is not fair. We just save you, and then you become, food for another animal. But that's life. We try to do as much as we can, but then the life still goes on, and you have the natural, cycle.
Yep. Thank you for sharing all that. So the next question that I have is, what are some challenges that you face while doing your job?
Challenges. I think challenges, there are many, of course. Some of them could be very natural challenges. Sometimes you want to be in a fjord and the weather is very bad or the sea is very rough and you cannot go out. So it's frustrating, but it's nature. We don't want to take the risk, you know. Sometimes what is frustrating is that we want to do a lot of actions, but we don't have the money to do it. So we have to look for funding. And sometimes we apply to grants with what we think very, very good project, very efficient, very, you know, like with big results that we are waiting for, and we don't get the funding. So sometimes we still do them on a low size project. Sometimes we ask for volunteers, but sometimes it's very frustrating too not to be able to do it. And sometimes what could be frustrating is that we live in a very remote place. You know, we are 118 islands in French Polynesia, but we are spread out in the middle of the Pacific. And everything you do on one small island could be done on another island, but we cannot do that. So we have to select where we want to work. And sometimes what is frustrating is that we would like to do everything on every island, you know. So
Yeah.
we're like, we need to be so many, so many, so many, and then everybody does it. Now, you know, I think what is very interesting is that sometimes when we teach the kids in a school, in any islands, then they could go out and help us. They may not be able to save a sick turtle, but they may be able to find it, do the first action to help it, call us, and then send it to us. So everything is linked, you know, so that's very important.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really cool. And being able to reach all those other islands without maybe even going there yourself, but having other people do it.
Yeah, and the kids are the most important because they really want to help us, you know. So
Yeah.
that's really,
And that sounds really fun too, to do that,
yeah,
to help an injured or sick animal.
yeah.
So I think Hannah has our next question.
Yeah. So is there any unique ocean life in French Polynesia compared to the rest of the world?
Um, it's interesting. You have a good question. I think we are living in tropical islands, and the majority of our islands have a coral reef around them. We have atoll and high islands, you know,
Mhm.
and they are not completely unique. I mean, what we have here could be similar to what we have in other places of the Pacific, for example, or in Indonesia.
Mhm.
What is very special, I would say, is that every island has usually typical places where you have higher density of fish or of wildlife, where you could study more. For example, we have some places where you have manta rays. They are not all over, but some islands have very specific place where you could go and study them.
Yeah.
So for marine life, that's very important. Now for terrestrial life, it's different. We have a lot of endemism in different islands, like in Marquesas or in Austral Islands, where that are very south from our place. But from what we study, for example, the cicero, they are migrating in the Pacific. So they are not belonging to French Polynesia. They do travel. They go to Fiji, Cook Islands, Samoa. So we share them. And this is also a very interesting project, is sharing our knowledge and our information we gather on these animals with the other countries around.
Cool, thank you.
Good.
I have the next question, and we are wondering, are there any additional or unique threats that are specific to marine life there?
I would answer to this question by erosion. That's a big issue for us right now. I think I'm referring a lot to sea turtle and the nesting beaches that are disappearing due to erosion, but not only. We can see some places that have fully disappeared. I was there 25 years ago. You had a very nice place, a very nice sandy beach for the turtle to lay eggs. There is no more. Erosion came all the way to the roots of the trees, and there's no place they could dig. So this is what we are looking. And on Teacher Atoll, we have started monitoring of this erosion using a drone, and we do 3D reconstruction of the beaches and see how much it changes every year. And this is really threatening. We are very worried about that. We are not going to bring trucks of sand and recover this beach. Of course, we just watch, but it's scary. Where all of this sand is going, it's usually going into the lagoon. It's not disappearing. It's just redeposing everywhere. But the places where this turtle may have lay eggs for centuries are disappearing. And this is in addition to what humans are doing. Humans are building walls on the side of the beaches. They're putting lights that that disrupt sea turtle. They have dogs and they do noise and all of that. So I would say, I'm not sure it's very specific here. Erosion is in many places, but it's so obvious that people are starting to be threatened about that. Now, if we talk about the sea level rise and the lagoon rise here, when you talk to the local people, they don't see it because every day when you wake up, you don't see a step, like it's very slow every day and everything. But people are really scaring about how much it's changing right now.
So as a follow-up question to that, is it mainly for the erosion part? Is it mainly just water erosion, or is there wind and abrasion too?
Could you say it again?
For the erosion, is it mainly just water erosion, or is there does the wind play a part too?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the wind has a part to play because we can see for the trend winds, which are usually east, there is more erosion. So yes, they could have a second factor. What I wanted to add too is that on some places also we are studying the health of the coral reef around the Aeon. And if the coral is not in good shape, of course, its role to protect beam surge or waves is declining. So of course, what is very worried for us is that if the coral reef is in bad shape, all of our islands are going to be less protected.
Okay, thank you. And I have the next question, and it's, what are some of the unique experiences you have? Are there any special moments that you've had during your career?
Yeah, I would say the most special I had here is in link to the local culture, because people here, okay, so we are in the French territory, but the local people have their own language here, Tahitian language, and even way more, depending on the different archipelagos. And unique experience I had here is with the local people that would come to us and share their knowledge. And it's so important for us now, even though I did years of study. I went to university. I'm from France. I mean, I have some education that are on some subject, but I'm learning so much just to talk to elders here that don't speak so well French, because they speak their own language, and they're teaching me so much information that I'm trying to get through years or years of scientific study, but they know already. So I think now bringing together this cultural knowledge and the scientific knowledge is key, and this is really what we have to do.
Okay, thank you. I think Hannah has the next question.
So what do you do to create awareness within the community to protect marine life?
Okay, so it's very important for us, as I said at the beginning, Te Manao Te Moana's goal, one of them is education. So we have developed since the beginning education program for the local schools. And for that, we have developed the content. We do the curriculum, we do games, we do books. We have lectures that we provide also for teaching the teachers. And so now, after 17 years of education program, we have reached over 120,000 kids, 120,000 kids in our program. So it's a big number of kids. And we do a lot of public awareness through conferences or through citizen science, because the more and more people want to know. So either the local people or the tourists who come to our islands are asking questions, and we are always there to answer the questions and make sure they understand. Now, for the past 2 years, we have developed more programs on pollution, waste reduction, and how to change our habits. Even though you are a tourist, when you go back to your own town, because you took a vacation in a place that you feel is so preserved. You want to do the same when you go back to your own town. So I think public awareness is one, and education program is the second one. Yes.
Thank you. So I think Eve has the next question.
What advice do you have for aspiring marine veterinarians?
I would say my advice is really do what you feel doing, what you dream of doing. It's always good to have experiences. You could go to any place in the world, find a vet and ask what they do and spend a few days, weeks or months with them and study. Sometimes we figure out we have way more influence when we exchange with young people that are willing to become vet. They may not become vet, but it's not a big deal. They will dedicate their time in their life to try and save animals, which anybody can do. You don't have to be a vet to be able to do that. So I would say try to study hard at school, but if you don't succeed to be a vet, don't give up. Continue to try and do it, and then you could always assist a vet, or you could become a biologist, or you could create your own foundation. And with the foundation, if you have really the communication and the passion, then you will find vets to work for you.
Thank you. So I have the last question, and it's, would you like to share a special message to the community for World Oceans Day this year?
Okay, so World Ocean Day is very important day for us. I'm part of a big community that is called the World Ocean Day in France. So it's a community that was created in Nausicaa in France. And it's World Ocean Network, One we call it, One Ocean Network, that created it in 2001, a long time ago. We start creating common tools. We figure out, all of us, we work in different areas of the world. We all create new tools to communicate, but if we had one single tool, it will be easier to spread it out. So at that time, in 2001, we started launching what we call the passport of the ocean. It's like a real passport, but it's a passport dedicated to the ocean that we would give to anybody who wants to act, so that this person keeps this passport as like a stamp, or every time you do an action to protect the ocean, you write it down with some names and everything. And then this gives you the pride of being part of a large group, all of the citizens on the planet who wants to protect the ocean. And when we did that, we did it with Jean-Michel Cousteau. I guess you met him before, with Ocean Future Society. And Jean-Michel came maybe 5, 6, 7 times to our place here in Montreal to help us. And we always exchange. And when he goes back and does a lecture in any place of the world, we always talk about being a citizen of the ocean. We all feel we are linked. Each of us, we are linked by the ocean connection.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
And from Aeon for Ocean for World Ocean Day, we just request people to take our Common Sense Plastic Pledge, which is on our website, and it's just one pledge that tells to like use reusable straws and reusable snack bags and everything, and you can just sign, and there's like a printable sheet that you can just sign your name on that says like I pledge to do all those things. And I think that wraps up today's interview. Thank you, Hannah, Eve, and Dr. Gaspar for being here. And yeah.
Thanks a lot. And I wish you good luck for your World Ocean Day event. Here in Montreal, we are welcoming kids that have worked all year round in the school to create big posters and big, like for a contest on sea turtle and plastic debris. And so I can send you some pictures of this day with our local kids.
Yep, thank you. That would be great.
Thank you. Okay, perfect.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.